Hellmaster EX. This award-winning system features the first single-engine joystick with digital electric steering and new autopilot capability. See Hellmaster EX in action at a Yamaha Outboard dealer or visit YamahaOutboards.com.
The Fishing News is sponsored by these fine partners.
The season of gift giving is here. Why not share the gift of fishing that lasts all year long? A subscription to the Fisherman magazine is just that. 12 glossy print issues and 26 weekly digital issues delivered to your inbox. Plus, weekly reports and full access to the website. And you're automatically eligible for the Dreamboat Challenge with your chance to win a new Steigercraft powered by Yamaha. Visit thefisherman.com/subscribe for that ultimate gift.
No, I'm not sure how the laser guidance system works. I'm Jim Hutchinson, New Jersey, Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine. It's Thursday, December 9th, 2024. Pay no attention to that. I'm not involved in any of the drone stuff whatsoever. But in this week's video fishing forecast, the top news, the big news, everything that everybody's been talking about for so long, of course, is will there or won't there be changes in 2025 on the striped bass regulatory front? The answer, in a nutshell, no change in 2025. But that's not to say that the Atlantic Striped Bass Management Board didn't take action either. They did. And I'll break it all down best I can about 5 minutes from now. But first, let's run you through the latest edition of the Fisherman magazine, because that went to print on Sunday night. And as the ASMFC was meeting on Monday, if you sat through the 4.5-hour meeting, that's when your magazine was on a postal truck on its way to your home. It should be in subscriber mailboxes and retail outlets sometime this week. This month's cover says it all: boats, outboard motors, and more boats. Captain John Raguso, who is our boating and electronics editor at the Fisherman magazine, he spends months every year through the fall, Fort Lauderdale Boat Show in particular. He's talking to manufacturers, he's hopping on new entries to break down what's in store for each new year. If I'm not mistaken, we've got over 40 manufacturers included in this year's Boat and Motor Buyer's Guide, some of the latest outboard offerings from Suzuki, Yamaha, Merc, Honda, and Tohatsu as well. So with this boat show season fast approaching, this is a terrific guide that you can walk around with you in your hands. Stuff that you're going to see upcoming at the Javits Center in January with the New York Boat Show. You'll see it at the Jersey Shore Boat Sale and Expo in February, and of course at the Atlantic City Boat Show at the end of February. Inside this edition that you'll get this week, you'll also find the return of our Winter Workbench series. Dave Anderson takes you through the plug building process. First up for 2025, of course you're getting your magazine in 2024, is the Habs Stubby. Great plug, and it's also really cool even if you don't do any plug building like me. It's cool to read about some of the history because Dave knows so much about it. We've got Matt Broderick. He's going to introduce us to the official Dreamboat champion for 2024. Yeah, that happened. While the old salt himself, Nick Konicheski, returns to his icy roots with an ice fishing article with some of the hot spots, if you will, in New Jersey as far as finding some ice. Dave Anderson again wraps up the Coastal Kayak Clash. He's been busy for this edition. And then Highmarsh Striper Club's Nick Simioli. He wraps us up on the fall run of 2024, helps us wind down with an early prep for the tides of March. In that January edition of the Fisherman magazine, of course, you'll also find the news, calendar of events by throughout the region, all the events that are happening that we've got a hold on. I'll talk about those in a couple of minutes. There's a tail end courtesy of Bruce Litton that I really like, Hotspot by George Schauer, the fishing reports, and of course some reader photos in the report section this month. From some of the images I've received from all of you. Finally, my editor's log, Hot Stove Don't Touch. That's on page 3 of this month's edition. It's right next to my contact info and my boss's info. If you want to reach out to us, email or phone, talk about some of the things that I'm saying and trying to report to you, by all means, would love to talk to you at any point this show season or by phone about some of these management stuff, these ideas. But the point here in my editorial, I've heard a lot of folks calling for a moratorium. So I went back to the 1984 Atlantic Coastal Striped Bass Management Act. It's a federal law. Just to itemize what the federal legislators think of when they think of moratorium. And again, hot stove, don't touch. You got to be careful with those nuclear options, especially with everything that's been going on with the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission. So the big news this week will take us through several minutes. If you don't like to know how your fish sausages are stuffed, or you don't like my perspective, by all means, zip away. If you go into the description here on YouTube, you can click the next feature by reading about it in the body of the copy. So if you want to fast forward me, you can. But here's the deal. Here's what happened on Monday, how it all went down. First of all, you'll find my write-up after a 4.5-hour meeting. We posted it at thefisherman.com early Tuesday morning. In a nutshell, the news headline says it all. ASMFC striper decision, no change to 25 regs, but possibly 26. Now, in that write-up, let's go into this. You'll see an image at the bottom of the piece on the ASMFC program overview. Now, historically, when the ASMFC, the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission, takes action, they do so under the advice and input from their committees, panels, and boards. So in terms of the decision-making process, the commission itself is at the highest level. And then you've got the advisory panels, the technical committees, plan development and review teams. They provide support to the species management boards and sections. So that's what the Atlantic States Marine Striped Bass Management Board, they're the ones that convened on Monday. At the full commission, each state is represented by 3 commissioners. You have the director of the state's Marine Fisheries Management Agency. Here in New Jersey, that's Joe Cimino. A state legislator in New Jersey, it's Vin Gopal, and his proxy, which is Adam Nowalski. And there's an individual appointed by the state's governor. Phil Murphy appointed Jeff Kalin. Those folks represent our stakeholder interests. And instead of having 3 votes, each state with 3 people, they caucus to form 1 vote. So there's 1 vote for each state, depending on how those 3 commissioners voted in caucus. Then you also have the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service weighing in, along with NOAA Fisheries, Potomac River Commission, Washington, D.C., all that stuff. So while the Striped Bass Management Board has been making some emergency declarations outside of the full commission process in recent years, this new draft Addendum 3 will follow a more deliberate public comment process to allow the board more opportunity to develop management alternatives with thorough input from stakeholders. What this all means is that more information will be used to develop a more holistic set of fisheries management options. The word holistic, by the way, that should be on your Fish Buzz bingo card if you're playing along at home. That's on there with SSB, MRIP, removals, rebuilding, and mortality. So pay close attention for your chance to win at Fish Buzz bingo. First, let me share this slide again. I had it last week just for reference sake. It says where we were, where we are, and where the ASMFC believes we need to be by 2029. As of the latest assessment update, there are 191 million pounds of spawning stock biomass, or SSB, right now. That's represented roughly on the green mark on the right-hand side of that slide. Now in the middle, that's the 247 million pound mark, which is where the ASMFC believes the SSB should be by 2029. And again, as it stands today, we are rebuilding to that mark. However, based on forecast predictions by the ASMFC, that recreational fishermen are going to remove more stripers next year by way of both harvest and catch and release mortality. That's according to the MRIP, the Marine Recreational Information Program. They are predicting that we're going to go over next year. We don't know if that's the case or not. But that's why the board believes there's only a 43% chance of meeting the SSB goal by 2029. Now, some members felt that they needed to preemptively cut back the regulations on the recreational community in 2025 to meet the MRIP predictions, right? So that one final mark on that screen, that's that green dot all the way to the left, that's where we were 30 years ago next month, January of 1995, when the rebuilding of striped bass to the 202 million pound mark was heralded as a monumental conservation victory. So the 90s weren't the dark days. The 80s were the dark days. Dark days for sure. It was terrible. But by 1995, we had hit that first rebuild mark of 202 million pounds. We're only about 10 million pounds or so off that mark. But again, the board wanted to make a decision, or thought they might make a decision based on a prediction that we need to be 50% chances or better of reaching that total rebuild of 247 million pounds. So let's temper our own personal expectations for a moment and quickly look at how this went down on Monday with the board voting to send this to an addendum process. New Jersey made the first motion, which was seconded by Delaware. It was discussed, debated, dissected, and deliberated with a modification or two incorporated into it. And then Massachusetts put forth a substitute motion, putting states in regions with reductions required in 2025 across varying waves. Honestly, this option that's on the screen that was brought up on Monday was much better than what we were talking about over the last 2 weeks, because over the last 2 weeks, it was Massachusetts skating by without a sacrifice. This one is a little bit better. But first, it had a 9% reduction in the recreational community, but only had a 5% reduction in commercial quota. The amended motion also included not just harvest-only restrictions for review, but no targeting restrictions to provide an option to shorten the length of any closure. Again, discussion and debate ensued. That substitute motion for immediate changes in 2025, it failed by a 12-4 vote. Now that meant that the board voted down that 2025 regulatory emergency, which meant it was then time to revisit the original motion that was made by New Jersey and Delaware. With time ticking down as the board caucused amongst themselves, I poured myself a drink, microwaved some popcorn for the final tally. And here's what was finally voted by the board. Quote, to initiate an addendum to support striped bass rebuilding by 2029 in consideration of 2024 recreational and commercial mortality while balancing socioeconomic impacts. Options should include, if needed, a range of overall reductions, consideration of the rec versus comm contributions to the reductions, rec season and size changes, taking into account regional viability of availability, and no harvest versus no target closures. Final action shall be taken by the annual 2025 meeting, which is typically held in the fall, to be in place for 2026 rec and comm fisheries. Now, what this means is that the ASMFC and its board will use this new addendum in order to implement some type of restriction for 2026 that's based on as much of the 2024 effort and harvest data as possible that's coming in, because they still haven't finished wave 6, which is November and December. So we still don't know what those numbers look like. Hopefully they'll have them in time for the next meeting of the ASMFC in February. That's where you'll come in. See, what they're going to do is they're going to schedule public hearings throughout 2025 to review all the data, to discuss options, and then weigh in your input as stakeholders. That's where you do come in. I will keep you posted on the scheduling of these hearings and deadlines throughout the course of 2025. Now, one more thing. I know some folks get triggered by my reporting because I've tried to present all sides of a very complex issue. But it's important that we recognize how the fisheries management process is supposed to work for the good of the fish, the fishermen, and the fishing industry. That means equity and fairness across the full spectrum of stakeholder needs and expectations. For example, the ASMFC mission itself, for all its good and all of its bad, it's dedicated to a mission to promote the better utilization of the fisheries. Now, I would argue that without harvest, you have fish. You don't have a fishery. But again, that's why a lot of folks in New Jersey were incensed by the first set of options that we saw 2 weeks ago that allowed Massachusetts to skate through the process with cutbacks coming in November and December, when the New Jersey fishery is at its apex and the Massachusetts fishery is all said and done for the year. That wasn't fair and that wasn't equitable. Now, that didn't stop Mike Spinney with the group Stripers Forever from offering his perspective at the beginning of Monday's hearing. in support of an emergency closure. What Mike and Stripers Forever said is, quote, "To hell with equity." The point I'm making here is that fisheries management is a very, very complex process. Many folks have texted, emailed, messaged me on social media with their opinions and a whole suite of options they'd like to see. Well, now, maybe with a full process in 2025, some of your opinions can be brought to the table because this is going to be a more deliberative process. For example, one social media expert attacked me for not presenting the size changes offered up for 2025. In a nutshell, it's because the advisory panel didn't support lowering the slot size to protect the 2018 year class because it would impact immature fish, while raising it would have put the pressure back on those other year classes, the original slot that was implemented 2023 just to protect. So maybe some slot changes will be on the docket in 2025. One can hope. There's a lot of emotion here, but it's really important that we focus on the science, the facts, and the process. I saw where one pundit noted how public comments received by the ASMFC were overwhelmingly in favor of the board taking immediate action for 2025. I'm not sure if they were actually sitting in the same meeting as I was, because this is the slide I was looking at on Monday in terms of public comment. So the next step, in February, the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission will hold their annual meeting in Annapolis, Maryland, about the time we're doing our video for the Jersey Shore Boat Sale and Expo and the Philadelphia Fishing Show. And I will have more to report in that week's edition so that you know that the ASMFC meeting is coming, and I'll let you know all the options as they become available. You don't have to like me, and you certainly don't have to like me for presenting all the options and informing the public, but that's what we're supposed to do here at the Fisherman Magazine.
With 3 convenient in-water locations, Waterfront Marine has one of the largest inventories on the East Coast of premium brand boats. Their exceptional service department, fully stocked parts department, and ship store will ensure smooth sailing after the sale. Visit our 3 locations or online.
Now, until December 31st, Tsunami is giving away a Salt X waterproof backpack when you purchase a new Salt X2 reel. With its 19 seals and machined aluminum frame, the rugged Salt X2 can conquer any fishing condition you may face. Check out the QR code for all the details.
Now, as the striper run along the Jersey Shore winds down with the best of the action now off of South Jersey, Atlantic, and Cape May County, not necessarily blitz conditions on the beach, but folks dragging umbrella rigs, the shads, the stretch plugs, maybe throwing some swim shads, a couple of surface poppers here and there. Those folks that still have their boats in the water in Atlantic and Cape May County, you're finding stripers on out to the 3-mile line. The beach, you can give it a shot, but I haven't heard much. I certainly haven't heard like those blitz conditions in the northern half of the Garden State in November. Well, Jenni is back this week with the final part of her Surfcasters challenge for 2024, and she's looking for a few of your favorite plug-in photos from the season behind us.
Hello, my little open boaters. We are back. If you couldn't already tell, I'm in the same outfit as I was for the other open boat Surfcaster challenges, so this can only mean one thing. We're on the final challenge day of the challenge. So we already had teaser fish, popper fish, and the last one, I'm letting you guys submit your fall run catches on your favorite lure in your plug bag. So I have here tied on, obviously, you know, bucktail. I do seminars on why I love bucktails. I've done open boats on why I love bucktails. This is my very own bucktail, so you know that's why it's my favorite lure. And I'm not getting emotional about it. I just have wind blowing in my face. But if you guys want to make a final submission, fish your favorite lure, catch a striped bass on it, take a picture, quickly release it, and email it to me at jackerman@thefisherman.com. Give me your name and the region you're fishing at, and you'll be featured when we wrap up this whole challenge. So catch them up, guys. I can't wait to see what your favorite lure is. Maybe I have it in my plug bag too. And I'll see you guys out there this fall run season.
see, they're not. Oh, Todd! Oh, battle 4.
A reminder that black sea bass and tautog are in play this month at the Jersey Shore. 15 fish bag limit for sea bass, 12.5-inch size limit. That's through the end of this month. It all ends after December 31st. Tautog, tog, blackfish, that's a 5-fish limit at 15 inches. That's also through the end of December. We will carry over into January. We will have tog fishing in January and February as well. I know several boats, a bunch of boats that I've talked to said they're pulling out early this year, so I'm going to have to keep you updated on your sailing conditions and who you can sail with. Now, I'm fishing this week with Captain Pete Clark of Mad Hatter Charters out of Shark River. If I have time in the end of this week's video, I'll share with you some of the video from our trip. If you don't see it, I didn't have time or I had a bad day, but I doubt it. I'm with Pete Clark, Artificial Reef Coordinator. Should be a great day. Many of the top bottom fishing boats, too, running now out of Shark River and Manasquan in particular are catching porgies on their offshore trips, a few cod and pollock as well, even some bonita on the more recent offshore trips aboard the Big Jamaica. So you never know what you're going to encounter offshore. I know some of the boats down in Atlantic City, not so much the way offshore trips for those types of species, but I know the starfish, I believe she's still running too, so you still have some blackfish opportunities. Visit some of the, if you're looking for those opportunities, go in and stop by and see Nick and crew at Hands 2 Bait and Tackle in Cape May, or maybe run over to Jim's as well. Reminder, during these 12 days of Christmas and all that, we do have 12 days left to target striped bass west of the coal regs. That means the salty rivers, inlets, and back bays. New Jersey has a 0 targeting rule on outback stripers in January and February. No, we don't get any credit for that, but that's the way it is. That said, if you want to lighten up this season, you might want to go after the white perch. That should get you through in areas of the Upper Raritan, the Toms, Mullica, Great Egg, down to the Delaware Bay. Last I heard from the folks at Higbee's, Fortescue Creek, there were some white perch up in there. Justin at Allen's Dock in New Gretna, he said that the salt line that had kind of adjusted, that the white perch fishery is there for you to have. So definitely give it a shot. I did speak with Dennis at Hook House in Toms River recently, and he said there's some white perch back there in the Toms River. That's usually a night bite. And let's see if some of those striped bass are holding over. Protected, of course, protected. You'll find a whole host of white perch articles under the species tab at thefisherman.com if you're looking to try your hand at the spinies this winter. Now, perhaps 2025 will be the winter of bitter cold and proper ice. Go to page 70 and 71 of this January edition of the Fisherman magazine for more on ice fishing. Bruce Litton's thoughtful tail end feature. I always love his writing. And of course, the Poconos always ice up first, which is why I was talking to George Schauer and said, we should do a hotspot on Beltsville because you got a great Nick Konicheski article on New Jersey ice options, but darn, the Poconos always ice up first. So that's on page 71. We've got an update from out west in the Poconos right now. George Schauer, our Pocono outdoors guy.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. You know, it's getting to be that time of year, and I don't mean all this stuff. I mean, it's a time of year when guys are trying to get out, and we kind of have that weird in-between season with some ice and some open water. Now, I know a lot of guys in Pennsylvania, New Jersey are trying to get out and drill a few holes in that hard water, but I'll tell you, the ice that we've been getting has been fleeting. There's been a couple inches. A couple of guys have been out and getting a few fish, but let's make sure we get it really good solid ice before we venture out. Now, a couple of guys have been real successful hitting those creeks and streams, even some of those rivers. We had our friend Rich Bates check in again this week. He was blowing my inbox up with pictures of fish he caught up on Lac Oaxen. He magicked himself another really nice muskie. He got himself a beautiful walleye and also a golden trout way up there in northern PA. Now, also, you go over down a little bit further with our way. I had my friend Eric Goodstall check in. He's been out getting some brown trout on the fly, so lots of good fishing around. I know it's getting to the holidays. Everybody wants to get out and do some ice fishing as well. Just be sure, if you do get out, spud bar your way out to make sure you got good, safe ice. No sense risking it for just a day on the water. Guys, I hope you get out and get on them and have a great season. I got to go wrap this before the wife finds out, so I'll catch you guys later. From Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy.
From the Pocono Mountains to the Pacific coast of Costa Rica, let's check in with Captain Ben from Jackpot Sport Fishing at a Marina Pez Vela in Capos.
Guys, how's it going? Checking in from Costa Rica. This is Ben Gilmore with this week's fishing report from here at the Marina Pez Vela. Just returned from a fishing trip offshore today. We caught a stunning blue marlin, about 150 pounds. We lost another blue marlin and we caught 4 sailfish also. A really nice billfish going on out there right now. Mainly sailfish and blue marlin. There's the odd striped marlin and the odd black marlin get a caught also. A few dorados out there as well, and some yellowfin tuna further offshore also. The roosterfish fishing along the beaches and rocks has been wild this last week or so. The inshore bite has really kicked off now. Lots and lots of bait along the beaches. You can catch triple tails, snook, snapper, jacks, barracudas, and all kinds of stuff inshore. We would love to see you guys down here from the northeast to visit us here in Costa Rica. Come and check us out at the Marina Pez Vela. This is Ben Gilmore handing back to you.
So when you get that January edition of the Fisherman magazine this week, take note of our calendar of events, the shows and the meetings coming up in the month of January, well into February as well. I like to think that we keep the biggest calendar of events going. You won't find it anywhere else. So turn to page 10, I think that is. The January 9th meeting of the New Jersey Marine Fisheries Council is coming up. I'm sure striped bass is going to be a big topic there. You've got the Wildwood Fishing and Boating Expo. That's January 10th through the 12th. Then the Del Val Fishing Flea Market, the New York Boat Show, and all the rest of the January items. Take note, the Highmar event. I was rushing to get that in last minute at deadline last week, so I screwed up the date. That's actually February 8th, not February 10th. But I'll have more to share on this throughout the month of January, because we're going to continue to let you know all of the events taking place during the winter months. Togging this week, Pete Clark's Mad Hatter. And I'm supposed to be on Jamar Campbell's JC2 on Friday. Now, next Friday, right after Christmas, I'm heading down to Maryland with friends to fish with world record holder Kane Bounds, Captain Kane, aboard Fishbound Charters. Now, if I can't learn a little something about togging in the next 3 trips with Captain Pete, Captain Jamar, or Captain Kane, then I'm hopeless. I'm hopeless. And many of you probably think I am. Remember, the ASMFC board did, in fact, take action. And sometime in 2025, we'll be looking at a thorough analysis of all the data from 2024, the stock assessment update, all the harvest information, and they're going to take into account all the various options, hopefully on a state-by-state basis, and come up with a more equitable decision that's based on the input of you and I, of all stakeholders. All is not lost, my little cupcakes. We're in much better shape today than we were when I first started fishing many, many moons ago. Hopefully, whatever actions that the board moves forward in 2025 are in the best interest of the fish, the fishermen, and the fishing industry. I'm hopeful. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and a blessed New Year, my friends.